Commander Runningcloud here. Look, um, as usual, I'm going to talk about, my production. Look at that. That doesn't work. This doesn't work. I'm trying to sit in the sun because I like the sun. And the winter sun is low in the sky. But look, you can't really see me. So maybe I should change my strategy, huh? Should I change my strategy and not try to sit in the sun? You think that would be the smartest thing for me to do is to put my ass over here instead of trying to sit in the sun like one of the beautiful people sitting in the sun. All right. So this morning I woke up totally worried about my teeth. Okay. I'm not sure that that I didn't do something wrong in the healing of my teeth. And because, I felt some twitching on my face, I was worried about that. And I was thinking about how this is the third month that I've been out of the concentration camp. And my recovery from the bioweapon attacks on me have been remarkable. I almost don't even know. But I'm starting to feel, sensations in my gums and in my eyes and in my face that are making me think that the organisms deployed to prey upon me as bioweapons might still be existing. And from that observation of my experience, I began to think, well, how come they have decreased so much in general? Was each attack a rejuvenation of the entities they deployed to prey upon me, created and deployed? Um, were the huge towers on the highway all along in the 5G towers, were they actually creating a frequency that kept the organisms attacking me existing and working? And once I'm removed from that environment, they stop? Was the food that was controlled by certain groups of people and delivered to that area through centralized control supply chains, was that feeding the organisms? Because I'm pretty sure that there were organisms, especially after FEMA camp manager Sergeant Donna Marie Joubert had her man Marcus Smith deploy the nanobot that got into my ear and the chemicals that burnt my face. Once those were deployed upon me, the chemicals that burnt my face caused a reaction in my teeth. And so this morning, experiencing some discomfort with my teeth and thinking that maybe I had disrupted the stitches around the bone graft that the dentist had to put in, and then feeling the sensations of movement in my face again really kind of had me going off on a lot of things, like one of which was I started to remember this movie with Dustin Hoffman in it. And I think it was called Marathon Man. And in this movie with Dustin Hoffman in it, a Nazi had captured him and drilled a hole right in his front tooth while he was not under anesthesia, exposing the root of that tooth to a great deal of pain just from the open air. And as the Dustin Hoffman character became more and more dedicated to fighting for his freedom and his liberation, he began to suck air through his front teeth, right? He began to suck in air through his front teeth as a way to say, I can take it. I can take it. I can take it. You know, you can't torture me into submission. I can take it. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about, isn't it funny how my teeth were perfectly fine when I got to Houston, but after the bioweapon attacks were made upon me last October, my teeth actually exploded. Now, how do your teeth explode? You know, how does that happen? That your teeth can actually explode? And I just kind of, I really wondered that. And I thought about how many ways um, people were using to torture American people. How many ways our enemies have been using to take centralized control. And I was thinking about the fact that this private agency of enemies captured my DNA, captured my DNA, took my DNA in my blood. And I didn't even know that they would be able to do that in exchange for medical treatment from me. And then somebody sent me this picture of myself. Now, that's me only 2 years ago. No problems in my teeth, no scars on my face. Look at me now, right? I don't look healthy anymore, but I did look more healthy before I got my, you know, loss of sleep from the heart attacks and things like that. But that was me when I got to Houston, okay? And this was me when I left Houston. This was me when I left Houston, okay? Which looks more like me now, but I looked better last month. See, this is me in the middle of the concentration camp experience. Now I look tired today, and this isn't the best um, lighting, or and I haven't gotten enough rest, and blah 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 blah. But this is me 3 months ago on the road out of Texas. So I was already starting to look good, but you can still see the scars on my face from the projectile weapons. You can still see how I was hurt. You can still see a paleness in my complexion, but I'm at least starting, to look healthier and better. And I was thinking, well, how did my teeth come to explode? And the only thing I can think of that caused my teeth to do that was the bioweapon that was deployed in this ear, and then this tooth opens up, explodes. But on this side, the trouble on this side was caused by a crown that was put in by Edmund Eves in the Finger Lakes in Penn Yan, New York. Penn Yan, New York. Sounds Chinese, but it stands for Pennsylvania Yankee. It's an abbreviation of Pennsylvania Yankee. And in Penn Yan, Dr. Edmund Eves, who started a clinic to serve Black-skinned Americans' teeth, he sabotaged my teeth in such a way that organisms seemed to hatch under this tooth. And in the x-ray, I could see that the root was broken. But you might remember from my other videos, me actually telling you how I was extracting clots from my teeth that would remove the pain, and I could actually feel them moving. And how I felt that Edmund Eves had deposited some kind of long-term hatching bioweapon into the crowns that he put on these two teeth that seemed to have a community growing under them. And my fear today was that community is still inside of me and that maybe the tooth is gone. But then I went to Richard Feinberg in Mesa, California, and he added to the sabotage of my mouth very greatly. When I went to Richard Feinberg, a dentist in California, who had a wonderful website filled with beautiful testimonials. But when I wrote my letter of my experience there, not only could I never see it again or copy it for myself, but it wasn't included in the evaluation of him. So his entire website reviews were fabricated. Well, Richard Feinberg gave me all my money back and had some kind of investigative officer in his office the day I went to get my money back. But what Richard Feinberg did, I went in and I told him about this dentist who was the son of a dentist from Oklahoma. And the father in Oklahoma was known for pulling the teeth of Native Americans without treatment because they couldn't afford his treatment. So he would just pull their teeth. He was known for pulling teeth. He had a bad reputation, published online for pulling people's teeth, a newspaper story written about him for his notoriety destroying people's teeth. Now we can see fossils from millions of years ago that still have teeth. So we know that naturally teeth have the ability to endure for a very long time and stay in your head. But somehow modern dentistry has made the lifespan of teeth get shorter and shorter and shorter. Perhaps to support investors in the denture industry, which is now the implant industry, where you get to have metals that conduct electricity, they conduct different waves. You get to have them embedded in your head. You tell me you can trust an industry to create implants that are healthy, implants that are tamper free, implants that don't have some ulterior motive for existing inside your body? Well, I don't believe it. I don't want implants. But they've set me up and destroyed my teeth to the point where I'm going to need implants or dentures. And I had healthy teeth before the bioweapon. And we know that the Nazis who came to America under Operation Paperclip, under Werner von Braun, Elon Musk, we know that they came here. And according to the Dustin Hoffman movie, written and produced and directed and created by the heirs of the refugee Jews, we know that dental torture was a part of what they did. The dental research was a part of what they did. And if you're looking for money to come out of everything, wouldn't you find a way to destroy people's teeth so you could replace them? Wouldn't that be one way you would do your marketing of a new product? And why create dentures if they don't have an ulterior purpose of deploying waves and amplifying waves inside of people's heads near their brains? When I went to Richard Feinberg, I went to him because he had such a fine reputation online. And he had been the president of two dental associations in California. That was back when I thought the dental associations and other associations were actually about policing their own members and providing protection to consumers. I didn't know that those memberships were paid for protection for professionals that were cheating people, that were committing malpractice, that were breaking moral laws against you and me. I didn't know that's what associations were for back then. So I thought the fact that he had been the head of the dental association was a good thing. So when I went in to see Richard Feinberg, DDS, I was expressing my relief at finding him to fix my teeth because the dentist, son of a dentist from Oklahoma, where my land's been stolen by those people, he put me under 3, 4 different x-rays and still wasn't going to fix a small crack in one of my teeth. And I was telling Richard Feinberg that the dentist kicked me out of his practice because I said to him, "You can't take any more x-rays of me." And he shouted at me, "How do you expect me to get any money out of this if I don't take x-rays?" Because I had public aid through Kaiser Permanente. I had public medical because I had no income. I had been blacklisted by Henry Louis Gates at Harvard and Hazel Carby at Yale. They blacklisted me, a blacklist that went all the way to Paris, went all the way to the University of Massachusetts. It just followed me the same way that Sheldon L. Epstein's sabotage of my legal career followed me. His EEOC complaint in my name against himself followed me and made it 3 years till I could get a job after college. 3 long years of depending on the charity of my soon to be husband. So I've been there before, um, in this situation where the dentist is telling me I can't make any money off you if I don't cheat the system. And the way I can cheat the system is by getting paid for x-rays. And I'm telling him, but not on me. You're putting all that radiation in my head. And that doesn't agree with me. So he said, well, then don't come back. And I was telling Richard Feinberg about this with the expectation that as an association president, he would do something to prevent that kind of exploitation and abuse of the patient population from the providers on the patient population. But Richard took that as a challenge to do the Oklahoma dentist one step better. I went in with a small crack on my teeth that had not even penetrated to the dentin. And I don't know how I got it. I really don't. I'm just going to say it was sabotage because that fits my theme. And the first dentist just wanted to x-ray it. But what Richard did is he said, listen, I can make a device for you in my lab that will be better than a composite filling. It'll last longer. And I didn't ask him that much about it because I was kind of trusting. And what he did was he created a device that would sit on top of my tooth like a cap, but not a cap. But what Richard did was he made it crooked and he created a gap between this dental device and my natural tooth. And he made it bigger than the crack. He excavated more of the tooth than he might have if he was just filling a simple filling or using a sealant. But I'm in the chair, I'm submitting, just like the contract that I got at the JFK hospital wants me to do officially with no questions, with no opportunity to amend the contract. You're going to sit there and take whatever we do to you. And we might even do it by phone or computer or robot or remote. But you're not going to be able to question. You're not going to be able to know. You're not going to be able to have any impact on what happens to you. But I was already kind of in that state. And I was thinking, well, he's the head of a dental association. I trust him. Richard Feinberg. He must be great. Did you see all of his reviews? He's a 5-star. Well, I told Richard that there was a gap and that the device he created, the little cap he created, was not fully abutted to the tooth. But he just kind of laughed. He thought it was kind of funny. He himself, by the way, had very thin teeth with big gaps. His teeth were as thin as the mother of pearl. And he was a very small man, about 5'2", I would say, and maybe 87 to 93, 4 pounds. So Richard probably grew up with a lot of envy towards people with healthy bodies and big, beautiful teeth. He probably took a lot of secret joy in destroying those teeth because that's what he did to me. Richard studied my mouth and he used his intelligence and his skill and his brilliance to create a situation of malocclusion that put so much pressure on the teeth I had that had caps on them, that I had a malocclusion that put my jaw offline. So my jaw, in order to keep my jaw from going off to the side like that, like his secretary had a jaw off to the side like that. But in order to keep it, the muscles in my face had to move. And the pressure he put on the caps on my teeth, on the bridges on my teeth, made them weak and prone to breakage. And that played right into what Edmund Eves had done to set up the crowns he put on my molars right next to the tooth that Richard Feinberg sabotaged. Now, when I realized what Feinberg had done to my teeth, because I'd already encountered dentists in Connecticut who deliberately committed malpractice to keep me a customer. They'd put caps on my teeth that fell off. They put scratches on my teeth where there were no scratches. They seem to be constantly doing things to make me a perpetual dental patient, a constant income stream. And it had happened to such a degree and so obviously, in my opinion, that I spoke to a dentist who turned out to be a very good man. And I said, you know, it seems that the dentists here are deliberately committing malpractice because they know there's no legal industry for it. And they seem to be doing things to perpetuate my patronage as a patient, almost to the point where they can predict when I'll have to come back because they can predict when their fixes will fail. They could almost buy a boat on time by their expectations of money from me. And I was insured with Delta Dental then, a company I actually expected to advocate for me when I met Edmund Eves. Because Edmund Eves, I bought Invisalign braces from him. And I specifically asked him, will sliding these devices on and off my teeth affect the enamel on my teeth? And at that time, we thought enamel could not be repaired or regrown or regenerated. We thought enamel damage was permanent. So if you're going to subject yourself to cosmetic dentistry that's going to permanently compromise your teeth by scraping the protective layer off, you want to know that, right? But Edmund Eves would not disclose that. He said, no, there's no effect. And I'll tell you this, I had etchings on my teeth for years until I found a product that repairs the enamel on your teeth. And it does. The etchings on my teeth are much improved after 6 to 8 months using this product, a dental repair product that I got on Amazon. When Edmund Eves did the Invisalign braces for me, he was supposed to give me Invisalign retainers to last me some time to keep my teeth in line. But what Richard did was he kept the money that I paid for the authentic Invisalign retainers, and he created some retainers in his lab made out of rubber with air bubbles in them, obviously counterfeits. I tried to complain to Invisalign that I had been robbed by their Invisalign provider, and that is the first time I found a company using cyberspace to block the ability to sue them for malpractice, to find the people responsible, to make any response. They had no way for you to contact anyone in customer service to say, I didn't get my official Invisalign retainers. What's up with that? My dentist went into his lab and made some rubber retainers that are not going to retain the configuration of my teeth. And by the way, your product scratched my enamel, right? Because there'd be a legal remedy for that. You would have to be compensated for the deleterious effect on your teeth of having scraped enamel, of how it makes you more prone to bacterial infections and decay. And by then I had met a pediatric dentist who is the chairman of pediatric dentistry at the Yale Dental School. And I entered his practice with my little girl, thinking that this would be a perfect place for her with the best of the best of the best experts. And do you want to know what he told me when I would not let him pull a tooth, violently pull a tooth from my daughter, a baby tooth? I said to him, well, a baby tooth with a cavity, it's not connected to a nerve, so it won't cause her any pain, and that tooth will be falling out naturally. You know what that dentist told me? He said dental decay is a virus. And if you let that baby tooth molar stay there and don't let us extract it surgically, that decay is going to spread all through her mouth. Well, I thought he was joking me. I didn't know that they had created decay as a virus. I didn't know that cavities were a bioweapon created to propagate profits in the dental industry way back then in 1990. And when the dentist tried to tell me, I said, oh, poo poo, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just trying to make the money, pulling my daughter's tooth. And I'm not going to let her be subjected to that because I had a European dentist in Canada bully my mother into forcefully extracting my tooth and breaking bones in my jaw and subjecting me to traumatic violence when I was only 12 years old because she refused to pay for a root canal on a little girl's tooth. I still have that hole. Was never filled. Never put a bridge there. And I'll never forget the pain I went through. And I'll never forget that as a pussy hole existed in my little 12-year-old mouth from a vengeful, inconsiderate European dentist thinking that he's violating and ripping out the teeth of American Indians, like the dentist in Oklahoma, father of the dentist on Ponte Loma in California, in San Diego, who actually took all those x-rays of me. This disregard, who is his father known for pulling the teeth of Americans, his European father known for pulling the teeth of Americans, and he's going to one up his father by putting x-rays all over my face, unnecessary x-rays, repeated x-rays, nothing but x-rays, because that's the only way he could fund his train collection in his pediatric dental practice. I'm sure you've read the reports of the abuses that dentists were performing on the teeth of children and the pain they were putting children through and the metal devices they were installing needlessly in the mouths of children. There were whole news reports about it in 2017, 2016. And I actually saw some of that dental torture done on the mouth of a child when I lived in Arizona. Some dentist had put a big metal brace in an empty space in a 5-year-old girl's mouth. And whenever she referred to it, her cheerful, bright face got a very sad, a deeply sad, traumatized expression. Now, why a dentist would put some kind of a trap, chain link trap into a child's mouth, I don't know, but I just know what had happened to me. And when I was there in Connecticut and I told the good, decent dentist, the Quaker dentist, when I told him that I suspect that the dental industry is involved in some kind of conspiracy against the public to prolong their profits because my teeth have been set up. Well, that particular dentist did a fantastic job on my teeth. He created a custom device to take the place of 2 teeth that had been destroyed, and he created one big tooth that perfectly aligned my mouth. When I went to Richard Feinberg, my mouth was perfectly balanced because the Quaker dentist in New Haven sent me to a Chinese periodontist in Hamden who operated with integrity too. And the Quaker dentist explained to me everything he was doing in my mouth to the point where he was actually teaching me dentistry because I had caught on to so much from being a patient with good insurance. He taught me so much that when I went to Richard Feinberg and I said in my letter on his website that I didn't get a copy of for myself, when I explained to him exactly how he sabotaged my mouth, created a painful malocclusion, and made it so other teeth would be compromised, creating tens of thousands of dollars in future dentistry. He put in his medical notes that I had a knowledge of dentistry. He put that in the notes that I got when I went for my refund. It just so happened when I went in person to confront him about what he had done to me, and he gave me my refund, my paltry little $1,800 refund, because once he saw the Black American Express card that my benefactor was using to pay for this emergency treatment, well, Richard Feinberg got very greedy and decided to use his best sabotage to set my mouth up for tens of thousands of dollars in dental repairs in the future, and plenty of pain for me for malocclusion, because the pain will drive you in to buy the service. So if they don't drill that hole in your tooth like they did in the Marathon Man on Dustin Hoffman, you can live with it. You can live with it. You can even fix it yourself for a while with a dental repair kit for a while, right? It's not crucial until it starts hurting you so much that you can't sleep at night. Well, when Richard Feinberg gave me back my money, he also gave me my medical records, but he wouldn't give me the microscopic copies of color photographs of my medical records that showed the initials that Edmund Eves poked into my two front teeth. Yes, I felt him poke a hole into my two front teeth. And my two front teeth are the front teeth of Native Americans. Native Americans have a bulge at the root of the tooth and then kind of a cup at the bottom. But Africans and Europeans have straight backs on their front teeth. Our front teeth are curved and sloped. And right on the slope of my back teeth, I felt Edmund Eves poke two holes in this one and a hole in this one, like he was poking initials in. And he smiled at me devilishly like that as he did it, to say, I just fucked you up. Because I was double guessing him. I was saying, you can't give me these rubber retainers. You can't charge me for this. You can't cheat me like this. Aren't you doing it right? Because I gave him tens of thousands of dollars in money through my dental insurance and through the root canals. I mean, the bridges I needed on my teeth. I think he put 3 in. So it's thousands of dollars of business for him. And I trusted him. I trusted because that's what we did. We trusted. We trusted people that were setting us up for future profits. Before, they had an agent there going through Richard Feinberg's records, investigating him, and she demanded that he give me a refund. But Richard was such a psychopath that the whole time he was smiling and laughing and cordial and saying, how are you doing? As if he had done nothing wrong. He had absolutely no awareness of himself as a villain, as a person hurting other people. But he gave me back my money, but they wouldn't give me a copy of those particular images of my teeth. But I saw them. And with the microscopic telescope that Richard Feinberg used in his diagnosis of my oral health, I saw the holes that I felt being punched into my teeth by Edmund Eves, who dedicates volunteer time to helping other Black American Indians there in Florida with his Smiles non-for-profit. Because he had so much fun sabotaging my teeth that he decided to make a retirement project out of it. Just like Sheldon Epstein had so much fun plagiarizing my intellectual property and setting me up for career failure, that he became an agent at Northwestern Tech. doing the very same thing. You see, so I've launched a lot more careers than the careers that were launched by the plagiarism of my academic intellectual property by Hazel Carby and Henry Louis Gates of Yale and Harvard, respectively, who robbed not only term papers I submitted to Yale, but term papers that I submitted to the Ford Foundation Fellowship Grant. And when I told um, the associate dean at Yale, was his name Feinberg too, or Weinstein, or Rosenberg? I don't remember the guy's name. But when I told him that Hazel had plagiarized me, he thought it was so funny. He looked so amused. He thought it was so funny watching me submerged in the water, raising my hand for help. He loved watching me start to drown. I thought that Yale would be outraged that one of their agents, Hazel Carby, a British agent, chairman of the graduate program for Black American literature, had given Yale produced intellectual property to a professor at UCLA, Valerie Smith, who later became the president of Swarthmore. Why, she did such a good job stealing and compromising the future of good, righteous Americans like me that the Europeans gave her the crown of the presidency of one of the most beautiful universities that I've had the good fortune to see, Swarthmore College. It's beautiful up there in upper New York State. It's beautiful. And in the middle of so many water assets, and in the middle of so much sabotage of the Erie Canal, and in the middle of so much exporting of American assets straight through the Great Lakes, through the St. Lawrence Seaway, right across a small part of the Atlantic Ocean to Norwegia and Sweden and Great Britain. No customs, such an easy steal from North America, the Canada side of the border, and the northwestern side of the border. Such an easy score. So this strategy extends through all of these spheres of our society, practiced at different levels. So when in the Houston FEMA camp under Sergeant Donna Marie Joubert of the U.S. Army and Marcus Smith of the U.S. Army, when they deployed a bioweapon on me designed to crack your teeth, they're testing it to deploy upon the public because there are a lot of European investors who are invested in the future of implant dentistry. And implant dentistry is a segue to human artificial intelligence implants through the teeth, through the mouth, that reaches into your entire circulatory system, your entire brain system. It opens the door for all of that. And we have from the fiction of the Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman proof in the public discourse of America that the immigrant refugee Germans were researching ways to make human bodies pay them through the teeth. Puns intended. It's only one pun, right? Pay through the teeth. Well, all of that was in my mind when I started another conversation with my good friend from college. Now, this is a wonderful man that I met in college, and he actually has always been a very fine gentleman whom I have great regard and respect and love for. But I never wanted to date him, and he never wanted to date me. But we still have a strong attraction to each other. And he's extremely intelligent. In fact, he himself is an aerospace scientist. He himself graduated from Northwestern University Technological Institute. He's truly brilliant. So we have a lot of very satisfying intellectual conversations. So just when I was beginning to organize this broadcast, talking about the uses of the bioweapons that were tested on me that seemed to be responsible for the more aggressive attacks on my teeth, designed to create profits for the dental industry, an industry populated by people that are admitted by the admissions boards of dental schools, which tend to mostly be within the same ethnic group and hand selected. So all of the dentists, like the doctors, instead of coming through an open system that financially rewards the gifted, they're picking people that will be most likely to commit the crimes they plan to commit, to promulgate poor oral health for profit. Okay? So flashbacking, to being in the concentration camp, seeing more proof besides, the proof on my face, the way they shot me in the side of the jaw, and these have been reactivating lately. These where they shot me on the side of the jaw. Remember when they sent the transvestite through Uber Eats who engaged me a conversation and lured me outside the door, and who lifted his iPhone and told me a story about being a woman that would just make me have a conversation with him, even though by then I was terrified of being outside my hotel room. And then when I left the conversation, I felt the stinging from the way that he had used his iPhone to direct a weapon at me. I feel it now, and I had not felt it lately. But perhaps the extractions of my teeth have reactivated the organism that's in my body. Because here I'm feeling swelling. And you might remember that this is the tooth that cracked. And this tooth that cracked had an organism in it. And this organism seemed to be stemming from here. And this organism seemed to have been part of the nanobot that they put in my ear, that went through my teeth, that went through the back of my head, that involved my crown chakra, that involved my neck. Okay? I can't begin to dissect the structural construction of the parts that go into these biological weapons that were tested on people in the FEMA camps like me, dissidents, people that are not going to sit down and be quiet during the invasion of our bodies for profit by the enemies of humanity occupying our spaces. They knew I wasn't going to be complicit, and they knew that I could see and figure out what was happening to us. So they wanted to be sure to put me in the concentration camp, in the FEMA concentration camp, the FEMA concentration camp that Rex Baer of the Leak Project reported on way back in 2017, 2016. He had so many of his audience were saying, we've seen this, we've seen that, we've observed this, we've observed that. They're moving towards FEMA camps for dissidents against European supremacist, European nationalist, European racist occupation of America. They are going to be murdering people. They're sending body bags. They're having freight trains modified. They are planning to convert warehouses, warehouse stores, Walmarts into FEMA camps for Americans. Well, we didn't believe it, but isn't that exactly what the White Hotel, Katie Houston, was for me under Sergeant Donna Marie Joubert and Officer Marcus Smith and the other people that deployed biological weapons and projectiles against me. And all the while, I'm reporting it to you, but all the while, I know that I can easily be classified as insane. And all the while, I'm feeling no one is ever going to be able to rescue me from here, because if they come here, they'll be attacked, just like I am. But finally, our side, the good ET side, made enough advances, got rid of enough swamp creatures, got rid of enough adrenochrome crazy pedophiles, celebrities, politicians, CEOs. They finally got rid of enough of them under the Trump brand for me to be liberated from the concentration camp in Houston. Houston, the home of the Nazis. Remember? So many of the Nazis settled in Houston. So is it any wonder that I would have ended up in a concentration camp there? And the mental telepathy, mind control being projected on me that was making me want to go find Elon Musk to begin our alliance to raise the Americans, him and me. Well, that would have let them know predictably that I would be heading to Boca Chica, right? And they knew that I couldn't afford, after they sent the IRS after my benefactor to decrease my living expenses that he's paying dramatically. They knew that once they did that, that the only hope I could have, and with my car note, my car insurance, that the only hope I could have would be to do searches for the cheapest hotel. So luring me to the right hotel, they had a set of hotels that they could choose, but they knew it wasn't going to be the Ritz-Carlton. I'm not saying that they couldn't have reached me there. I'm just saying that it's a lot more unlikely that they would have been able to install such a complete military presence to keep me on lockdown in any place but a cheap ghetto hotel. A ghetto, right? I would have stayed at my home in Arizona if Tina Ainley, a Jew, in charge of the Arizona Superior Court, had not decided to prevent me from having a defense against the no charge charges. As you might remember, I published my innocence. And because I published my innocence when they were going to shoot me in the head by the African safari exhibit that isn't an African safari exhibit at all, it's a graveyard for Black people in Arizona. When they couldn't shoot me in the head, they put me in their jail. And once in their jail, they did something to me, right? They'd already broken my back, but they were going to shoot me in the back of the head and dump me in this African safari and sell my body for meat or whatever to the meat eating aliens. But they didn't get to do that because I published on social media the proof of my innocence. Bettina Ainley had enough power and enough consolidated power from the state of Arizona and the European nationalists globally that she could deny my innocence and hold me on charges of fleeing the police. Although I was on the phone with 911 the entire time saying, are these police after me? I've committed no offense. And I wish I could pull over, but there's no shoulder on this sabotaged road. A road that they ran interference on so that travelers on that road could not see the ruins of a castle on the other side of the hill and the ruins of big rocks. And they were manipulating that highway to create dangerous conditions that would make all the retirees living in Arizona afraid to make that little drive from Arizona to the exciting Las Vegas scene, right? And because I had exposed all that, and the Arizona public safety officer who was trying to intimidate me, he saw the evidence of all that, and they called Officer Crawford of the Arizona State Troopers before he got to murder me. And they put me in jail instead. But then somehow in that jail, they do something that affects my stomach. And then the next thing I know, I'm fleeing my home, and headed to Elon Musk in Texas because they had done so much cyberspace mind control on me and used my mental telepathic amateur low level experience and ability to make me think that Elon Musk was a friend of humanity and was going to work with me to do the job that Trump had tried to do, to free America. So they knew which way I'd go. I wasn't going to head back to California, where a European gave me a concussion because he didn't want Black people alive. He didn't want Black Indians alive. Where Richard Feinberg sabotaged my teeth, creating a permanent disability and a future guarantee of loss. Where a dentist, son of an Okie dentist, destroyer of ivory, weaponizes his practice against me. Well, I wasn't going to head back there, was I? I was going to try to go east. And I was going to try to drive all the way back to Connecticut, even though I knew that Diego Hernandez and Juan Hernandez were probably going to drive me away because they want to assume my property there. They want to drive me away and assume my property there. And I had the evidence of their crime where they were creating bots out of everybody's personal computers and creating an interface between banks and financial institutions that were reporting and the clients they were reporting to, and they were skimming money in the middle. And they were in cahoots with the New York, I think they were the sex crime division, and Connecticut State Mental Health, where Juan infiltrated. But I hate to talk against Juan because I really do think that he's a double agent, because he did me a lot of benefit. He taught me a lot of things that he knew I would need in the future to survive what was coming. But I think he also participated in these thefts, and he certainly was the reason that I had to flee Connecticut because of domestic violence. He'd moved into my house and was committing domestic violence against me every single Christmas. I wasn't going to be there for the third round. I already knew I wasn't going to fight him. I wasn't going to fight him. Not after, the first time. And he'd already knocked me to the ground in my office. I wasn't going to spend a third Christmas. And how could I go back when he could move into my house anytime he wanted to? And if I didn't let him, he could break in through my garage and climb in through the roof. I had to leave. I had to leave Connecticut. I had to leave San Diego. I had to leave Phoenix. I had to leave Houston. And I had to leave the Mizell Senior Center and the Indio Senior Center as well. So I still am experiencing things, not only the new twitches in my face, the new stress marks. These are partially from fatigue, but I think they're partially from a reactivation of the bioweapons in my head. How did they stop for a while? How did I start to look and feel better? How did I start to heal and then be in a situation like I'm in right now? How did that happen? How are they perpetuating this weapon? Here's a picture of me after my dental. You can see that I don't look haggard like I do today. I'm looking healthy. I'm looking strong. I'm looking like I have totally recovered. But today, I'm not only having these sensations in my face, but today I'm looking a lot more like I did when I was escaping, when I was under persecution at the concentration camp in Houston. Today, I'm looking a lot more like this. So, I don't know if the organisms that busted my teeth have created a new generation. I don't know if the tampering with my teeth, the pulling of the teeth has not somehow reactivated them. I don't know if there are rays here being projected at me. If the bioweapon technology being developed in Houston, NASA country, if it is moving across the country for use here. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I was going to talk about that this morning because I have a lot of work I need to do, but I've just been so tired and so drained and then so worried and then, now preoccupied about why am I experiencing reactivation of the bioweapons that are triggering me and how come I didn't have continued effects from the bioweapons during the past 3 months. I've had nothing but recovery. Why am I falling down again? How did they perpetuate it in Houston? How did they keep amping it up in Houston? And why was I able to start to heal? And why do I feel like I'm falling again? And while I'm going through all this, before I get to do my broadcast, I decided I'm just going to call Stephen because I wanted to tell him something. I talked to him yesterday and I wanted to tell him something. So I called my friend Stephen. Actually, the only friend that I have left that doesn't think I'm insane, that hasn't distanced himself from me because I'm socially dangerous, because they don't want my enemies. Foxy's also losing his teeth and Poofy. Foxy's also losing his teeth and suffering quite a bit. You want to be on the show? You want to come on? Come here. Come here, Boofy. No, he doesn't want to. He's in a lot of pain. And I'm in enough pain, but I also don't know if did I break the stitches. Did the bone graft contain bioweapons that are reactivating the bioweapon complex inside my body? Did the time that they illegally threw me into jail under Tina Ainley in Arizona, did they actually put a matrix to grow these bio weapons inside of me? Is that why my stomach's been hurting lately? Is that why my heart has been hurting lately? I had all these questions, but then I talked to my friend. I have another friend too, but he really thinks I'm crazy. And I have another friend too, but he insults me about thinking I'm crazy. Actually, both of them do. But this friend of mine who was a rocket scientist with NASA, he actually doesn't think I'm crazy. Now, he thinks I'm out there. He thinks I'm definitely not speaking to a reality that he got to know. But he doesn't insult me and think I'm crazy. And we have conversations that are really fun. Mm. That cover many aspects of our reality in life. But while I'm talking to him, we talk long enough for me to forget about my fears of bioweapons and all that. And we talk long enough for me to get into what some of my own personal predictions for the future are. And my predictions for the future have a lot more to do with Hopi prophecy and Kali Yuga prophecy and other prophecies about the secular cycles of civilization than other things, you know? And then there's always Nibiru and the fact that Nancy Lederer documented what she called information from the Zeta Reticuli people that predicts everything we're seeing in this reality on Earth, the floods, the earthquakes, right? And then we've got the people saying, well, you know, and even the scientists say that there's going to be a polar shift at some point in time, and that is going to be a catastrophic event. And then we've got Stefan showing us the sun and describing the electromagnetism being released from the sunspots. And then we've got Gina Marie Colvin Hill showing us that in addition to plasma bursts from the sun, there seem to be intelligent machines or cyborg kinds of cube vehicles being expressed from the sun, as if the sun were a portal between universes and a military uh, deployment. Right? So I'm listening to all of this and I'm feeling, you know, this sense of hope, right? Hope and relief that maybe I won't suffer pain in my teeth if advanced civilizations can heal me. I thought it would be horrible if I lost the root of this tooth and this entire tooth that had been healthy before the bioweapon deployment exploded it. But by the time my wonderful, beautiful dentist extracted it, I hated those teeth because they hurt me so much. Now, if they make bioweapons that destroy people's teeth to the point where people feel like just pull them, just get them out of my head and give me the implant so I can have some steak tonight, so I can eat steak, so I can eat corn, then they will have people pretty much begging for the sabotage and takeover of their bodies, right? Well, here I see it coming, right? Just like my grandpa, B.H. Deck, told his son, my grandfather, I'm not getting that Social Security because once they turn you into a number, they're going to keep you a number and they're going to start to steal your humanity and your human rights because you'll be a number. And my great grandfather, B.H. Deck, foresaw that Social Security was socialism, that would become a form of control of people's lives, that would make it so people would no longer have autonomy. They would have to fall in line as a number in a hierarchy, and they're not going to be number one in their lives anymore. Just like B.H. Deck saw that coming but couldn't prevent it. Couldn't stop the privately owned Department of Transportation from slicing a big piece of his property, of his legacy after his death. Couldn't stop Rosenwald, who became on the board of Sears Roebuck Corporation, for all of the criminal activities he did against the Americans, selling them inferior bricks and inferior building plans to the ones that were being sold through the Europeans. I mean, Julius Rosenwald not only had the Rosenwald schools in black cities named after him, but he got money from Sears and Roebuck. He got put on this board because he did such a good job stealing from my people. So B.H. Deck, my great-grandfather, he couldn't stop the death of Lima, the town that he co-founded. He couldn't stop the destruction of the school he built because the bricks were inferior. He couldn't force the United States corporation government to recognize the town and the school as a landmark and restore it any more than I could do anything about my land in Polk County, North Carolina, South Carolina, where Mary Deck, my great-grandmother, had land. Okay? But you see it coming, don't you? You see it coming. So here I am, where my forefathers were, seeing it coming. Sabotage of your teeth, metal implants that become a segue to Cybermen, a segue to control of you through your body, a segue to invading your body by implanting metals in your mouth, by first destroying your permanent ivory. Ivory that you'll find in fossils, because teeth were not meant to fall out. They only fall out because some people who practice dental torture and experimentation on the deterioration of the human body, ways to make people look old before their time, so that they'll go for fillers and Botox and implants and plastic surgery. They create the market, and they create the professionals that benefit from the market through the admissions boards of the medical schools, of the dental schools, the licensing boards for accountants, the licensing boards for notary publics, the licensing boards for bankers, the licensing boards for fill in the blank if it has any control over you. And don't try to have an economy based on your own. As soon as you make a nickel, the privately owned, foreign owned, internal to what? Internal to you and your pocketbook, revenue service will come and say, I smell you got some money. You better give me some, or I will have my military throw you in jail, and I will have my lawmakers who make laws that suit me, just like the monarchy did. They had debtors' prison in Europe. Did you know that? And they used mental institutions to imprison political enemies and to house sadists like the Marquis de Sade and give them a living population of victims. So when I look at the entire picture of the world I'm in, and I look how I'm not going to be able to get around it, I'm not going to be able to get through it, I'm not going to be able to get under it, all I can think is, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I hope my mic worked when I took him in there to the bathroom. What am I going to do? Because I don't want to die. I have a right to life, but I don't want to live in a system that's using my body for profit, that's ruining my looks, my face, my body, my teeth, my hair, my ears, my sight, destroying my body so that they can become the professionals that make money patching me up. I don't want to live in a world where people can steal my intellectual property. and make benefits from my natural gifts and talents. And they get to enjoy it and blacklist me. The talents that God gave me, they get to exploit and blacklist me from any participation in my own creation of economic value. I don't want to live in this world like this. I don't want this for myself. I don't want it. I don't want this for myself. It just isn't fair. It just isn't fair. And it isn't right. And it isn't moral. And it isn't what God promised to his children, to me. So when I think, well, how long would it really take to clean this mess up? How long would it take, right? And I was thinking, longer than I'm going to live is how long it's going to take. And my family's already facing genocide. So by the time this mess gets straightened out, my family line will be dead. We'll be finished. There'll be nothing left of us. We won't be contenders. We won't be competitors. We won't be trying to get recognition. We won't be trying to get money because we'll all be dead. Right? And then I think, wow, is there only one solution? Does it all end in a black hole after an explosion of the sun? I don't know. All I know is that the line across the sun where the sunspots are coming out is growing across the sun, and it looks like the sun is going to burst open like an egg. And it's not like it's never happened before in galactic history. And isn't that how a black hole is made? Right? If you have a sun implode, doesn't it suck everything in and it becomes a black hole? Isn't that what a black hole is? An inversion of space from a huge nuclear explosion. He wants water now. Isn't that what it is? So I'm not saying that I'm any kind of, expert. I'm just saying that with the level of corruption and evil that we're seeing, with the degree of control that we're living under, with the future plans that are being, look, you see how this is all getting bad again? It's all getting bad again, and it had been really healing. With all the levels of control and sabotage against humanity that's taking place, and all of the future plans that have been seeded for our destruction and our exploitation, I just feel like I have had to experience it knowingly. And it feels like surgery without anesthetics. It feels like surgery without anesthetics to live the life I've been living, to be conscious, to watch them cut my belly open, remove my stomach, remove my heart, dissect them. And the whole time I'm sitting here watching. That's what it's felt like. So I think, well, why would God, if God loves me and I've spent my life serving God and I have never hurt anyone that didn't hurt me first, and even when I hurt them back, I don't hurt them much. Poofy. Hope I didn't throw you too hard over there. When I think about all that, I think, well, I know God doesn't want me punished, okay? And if you want to say, yes, but you chose to be here, I didn't choose to be here, okay? I happened. I was created here. But I don't control the free will of the other people here, the people who have decided that they're going to create bioweapons that destroy people's teeth so that people have to get implants, so that the implant industry grows. And then the implant industry is being fed by metals mining and production, and those metals are being imbued with artificial intelligence, and those artificial intelligence are being hooked up to the beacons, and we don't even know what the beacons are for, but they appear everywhere in public spaces. 30-foot high beacons. What are they for? We don't know, right? But we do know that somehow we've become a commodity that can be processed, dissected, and distributed. And that's what we are. And while we're waiting to be disposed of, we're constantly typing, 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 creating a blockchain, creating a world of electronic transmissions that actually form the body of cyberspace. With all the talent that Apple has, why do they create increasingly incompetent keypads? I can't type anything on my Apple phone that doesn't have to be typed twice. Now, I've seen Apple correct that problem many times where your finger actually lands on the keypad right and you get the letter you want. They even created that swirly thing that would create the letter you want. But the blockchain creators decided that the more errors they get, the more of the blockchain they own. So they create deliberate faults into their products so that you constantly error, because they don't care if it takes you twice as long to type something, because your keyboard is prone to misinterpret your input. They deliberately misinterpret your input because every minute you spend in free labor creating transactions for cyberspace is money in their pockets. You know nothing about that hidden economy. Just like you knew nothing about Nazis that murdered Jews being the foundation of the space industry in America and the military complex and the military industrial complex. You had no idea that World War II was simply a way to invade us with a Trojan horse. Feel sorry for us, we're being killed. But when we get over there, we're going to take over everything. And we're going to put you in ghettos. And we're going to give you inferior education. We're going to steal your music. And we're going to have you sing about how much you hate your mothers and your women. And we're going to give you drugs. We're going to give you legal drugs through psychiatry. We're going to say you're all insane and depressed. And then we're going to give you drugs that numb your mind so much that when we steal your money from your bank right in front of your face, you're not going to notice it because you're so drugged up. All you know is, what time do I take my pill? What time do I take my pill? What time do I take my pill? Oh my God. Am I crazy? Is it getting worse? How do I feel? Am I sad? Am I too sad? I better tell the doctor. What's the newest medicine? Can I have the newest medicine? Can I have one too? And we become so preoccupied with the damages that they're inflicting on us and legitimizing that we can't see beyond that. So how long would it take us to get out of this? Even with a catastrophic disclosure, you're going to have people that say that didn't just happen. You know how I know? Because I keep telling myself that concentration camp didn't just happen. I can't accept the reality, but I can accept the reality, right? But it was so easy to forget that I didn't hurt anymore. It was so easy to assume a normal life, even though I am functioning far below my capacity in terms of my work. And that's the only place I can really see the healing, is that it's very hard for me to get my work done. And I'm tired. And I'm not eager to accept what's happening to me, especially now that I'm feeling twitches in my face. And I'm looking at the deterioration of my chin, and I'm feeling where I got hit with the organisms in my chin. I mean, I'm starting to feel like I did in the concentration camp in Houston, the FEMA camp under Sergeant Donna Marie Joubert of the U.S. Army and Marcus Smith of the U.S. Army. It's hard for me to feel hopeful if I think that my enemies are going to follow me, or that they've put something in my body that I can't get rid of. And that's why when I was talking to my friend on the telephone, when I was talking to my good friend Steven, the only person that really listens to me like I'm serious and real. When I was talking to him, but we don't talk all the time because, like I said, he's looking for another wife, and I can't even imagine myself in a relationship. I feel like such damaged goods, and I'm so far out on a limb that if you talk to me for too long, you're gonna end up in woo woo land, as my friend. Why do I keep forgetting his name? My never ending story friend online. Cliff High, yeah. Woo woo land, right? I'm the queen of woo woo land out here. So it's hard for me to even think about any kind of romance with anyone because you'd be crazy to get involved with me. For one, you'd probably inherit my enemies, which means you will also be dealing with dents inside your face that are eating your flesh and making you look old before your time. Yeah, okay, I'm 68. I should look old, but I shouldn't look prematurely advanced. If I looked the way I looked just 2 years ago, why would I look 10 years older than that today, if not for being tampered with physically, if not for having weapons deployed on me? So that brings me to another point. Remember, somebody said, William Mount said that our natural lifespans are supposed to be longer, but someone interfered with our telomeres and our DNA. If Dick and if Jane and William Bill Mount, they might have said it, but I've heard it over and over and over again that the advanced ETs, the bad ETs, the Nazi ETs, the Nazis working for the ETs have done things to manipulate our DNA to shorten our lifespans. Well, you think about that, but you also think about how, if I can prove that I didn't have certain signs of age before someone actually shot me with a projectile or aimed a ray at me, then wouldn't that also make you think that perhaps aging itself has been engineered for us for certain reasons? An entire industry of plastic surgery depends on the creation of wrinkles. So imagine if you had a ray gun that could create wrinkles on people's faces. It could make people so disappointed with the way they look that they would be willing to pay to look different. Well, wouldn't you deploy that? Well, that's the principle behind the bioweapons for teeth that were tested on me in Houston that caused this tooth to explode, that created a need for me to replace that tooth. Right now, with a plastic filler, a spacing filler, but eventually with a titanium base implant. Now, don't you think I want to get away from this planet before they start to install metal implants into my face, into my head? Implants that could very well be controlled by these big towers that they're building, controlled by people's cell phones, controlled by anything. So somebody powerful gets mad at you, like they did in Arizona when I started talking about the sex traffickers at the peak rooms at the Pecan in Brownsville. It was within a week of that they sent out the transvestite to shoot me in the face that caused symmetry on both sides from what the Army FEMA camp administrators had already done to shoot me in the face. But she put these wrinkles in, these deep lines. She created a symmetry here, like this. These were not there before she shot me in the face. And I felt her shoot me in the face. I felt the effects right after. And then the results of it happened after. But what would you think if all of your signs of aging, all of your lost and broken teeth, all of it, if not from neglect, were a sign of sabotage to promote a professional industry? You see, I took good care of my teeth all my life. I had friends tell me, I take better care of my teeth because I've seen you brush your teeth and take care of your teeth, and your teeth look so good. I remember Juan told me, he said, I thought you had false teeth when I first met you because I took good care of my teeth. And part of that good care was using my dental insurance to go to the dentist. But then the dentists became collaborators in the sabotage of the human mouth for profit. And that's what I'm dealing with now. And the very thought that the bone graft material may have reactivated the bioweapons that are causing this deterioration in my face to start all over again after my healing, that could even be responsible for the pain in my heart and the increase in the size of my belly and the pain in my belly, then there is no escape from the ways that our enemies can attack our bodies on an individual level, attack our bodies in ways that hurt our self-esteem, our confidence, as well as our health and our aesthetic appeal. They have found so many ways to hurt us, so many ways, and we have no defense. So while I'm talking to my friend Steve, and we're on the phone long enough for me to get deep into my cups and closer to my core beliefs, that the reason that I've been here and I've been through so much so consciously has been because I'm a witness for God and I'm a witness for the future. And when all of this has turned to dust, someone will have to be able to say what happened here. Someone will have to be able to say, don't cry a tear. Don't cry a tear for those that got what they deserved. Don't cry a tear for the people devoted to hurting everyone. And that's true. But we can't deny that there are so many innocent people here on this planet. So many innocent people here that rather than turning our solar system into a supernova black hole, we really wish that we could recover, don't we? So that's when you see the signs, the positive signs, the good signs. Gina Marie Colvin Hale reported, and I watched part of it this morning. She reported all of the arrests and firings taking place in the Navy in San Diego. Well, I was in San Diego and I saw how corrupt the Navy was. And there's a huge Navy intelligence there. And I was rescued from Houston after someone from San Diego said, all clear. So when I look at it like that, and I think about my desire to see the earth continue, and I think about my desire to see good people live on and experience prosperity and happiness in their own forms and ways that are devoid of evil or Satanism or corruption or hurting other people or exploiting other people or killing children or torturing children or creating destruction for profit through your bodies, through your properties, through your land. When I'm thinking of a world with all of that removed and just the good ones of us here, then I take heart in the news, right? I take heart in the idea that the Donald Trump brand has been functioning behind the scenes since he gained office, and all the way through the stolen election of 2020, and all the way through to his reelection now, his reemergence of the brand now, that he's been working the entire time to destroy the swamp, to get rid of all of those movie stars that were thriving on adrenochrome, to get rid of all of those vampires that were thriving on the blood in the abattoirs of human sacrifice in the synagogues, to get rid of all of those foreigners that were owning America and American citizens out of Washington, D.C., and London, and Darjeeling, or whatever the other centers, Tokyo, whatever the centers of human trafficking and financial control of the planet work. And when I hear the stories of the good ETs defeating the bad ETs and the Cold War in space about to turn hot, when I hear those reports from Courtney Brown and the Farsight Institute and from Gina Marie clocking the entry of the craft, then I feel like there's a chance for us, right? And the changes can be fast if we're aggressive, right? We can put all of the foreign agencies controlling our lives out of business right now. And we can replace it with people that make up agencies that actually reach the goals that we were told those agencies would reach for us. And we can do it now. So Stephen Greer and others say, well, we have to have this, what do you call it? Disclosure for people to understand. But even with disclosure, even with a catastrophic disclosure, people are not going to understand. They're not going to understand. Because what we are living through is fantastic. And the reality that we have been presented with, the sphere of existence that has been defined for our existence, is mundane. So how are you going to enter a world of mundane with the fantastic and expect people to come up to speed just like that? Well, I don't have generations to wait, people. I don't have generations to wait. So either way it goes, if I want to not have these weapon lines on my face, if I don't want to have my teeth continue to be extracted, because they exploded this one, but they still hollowed out the ones that are remaining. They can still function, but a lot of my teeth have been killed. And I'm feeling something extending from here down here into the tooth that's been removed. Something possibly living that still wants control of an existing tooth, that still wants to work to take over the front teeth in my face that are still good. So this bioweapon, this dental bioweapon, is designed to slowly rob you of every tooth in your head so that you need a full set of dental implants, so that you need a full mouth of conductive metal. What can I do but hope to be rescued before then? What can I do but hope to be a refugee from this planet? This planet, existing or not, black hole or solid sphere or flat earth, whatever the earth is, if I'm not removed from this earth one way or another, I can see what's coming, and it's not good. It's not good. I don't want metal in my mouth. I didn't want my teeth pulled, but I didn't want my teeth exploded. But my teeth were doing pretty darn good before I let Richard Feinberg into my mouth. And they were doing pretty good after Feinberg for the pain from the malocclusion and the distortion of my face from the malocclusion. They were doing pretty good until they deployed the bioweapon in my ear that worked its way through my mouth and through my pineal gland and through my crown chakra and maybe even through my brain. Well, I have to believe that the good ETs, that the advanced civilizations have a cure for this. And if they don't have a cure, through my descriptions of the symptoms, they will be able to find a cure. Because they might have beta tested these weapons on me, but they've planned and are in the process of deploying them throughout the society. because the investors want to make money on the destruction of your teeth, and they want to continue to make money through weaponized implanted teeth. Cybermen society. So I have to pray to God that I'm not going to be like my great great grandfather in a continual process of surgery without anesthetics or a loss of consciousness, of open eyed, wide awake removal and dissection of my organs in a psychological way. I'll have to hope that my salvation is coming sooner than that. I have to hope that every flood, every earthquake, every sunburst brings me closer to being removed from this place where I'm being torn apart piece by piece, where I'm experiencing horrible psychic torture as well as physical torture and deliberate destruction of my biology. So, talking to my friend Stephen today, we talked long enough for me to get to my real prediction for the future, my real vision for the future. And it looks like we're getting closer and closer and closer to that. But I'm also aware that tomorrow all of the geospatial, geophysical earth changes could end and we could go back into recovery, and all of the enemies of humanity can simply continue and start again. And that the state of life that I'm in could just continue until I'm dead. But I prefer to believe that my death is far, far away, and that at the end of the day, I'll be looking younger and more healthy than I do today. I think my computer just went into night mode, did something I'm not sure of, but I'm at 117, 137.16 right now. And I'm actually going to call it a day. I have other jobs I need to do, but as you can see from just looking at me, I am under some kind of attack, and I am very tired, and I'm not getting enough sleep, and I'm afraid for myself all over again, and I feel my complex post-traumatic stress being triggered and reactivated, and I feel like there are two ways that the story can go. The Trumpers can continue to destroy the enemies of humanity, and we can begin to restore ourselves and replace the corruption with healthy tissue. That's you and me. Populate our agencies, our institutes, our systems with healthy tissue, healthy human tissue, you and me. Or we can face the fact that the end is going to be catastrophic, but there will be refugees. And you and I will be among them. Either way is better than the future that was going to be, right? And the fact that I am removed from the Houston concentration camp is great, but being reaffected is not so cool to me. Fills me with fear again, that maybe our enemies have simply regrouped. But since I was liberated from the concentration camp and told that they can't hurt you anymore, they can't hurt you anymore, Silver Rain Runningcloud. They can't hurt you anymore. You need to start looking towards a good future. Then I'll just see this re-emergence as a minor setback, and that whatever cure my teammates put on me when they liberated me from the concentration camp will be put on me again. I don't think I would mind looking older if I earned it, but having someone make me look older as a weapon to hurt me just doesn't seem right. So I'm Silver Rain Running Cloud. Thank you so much for being with me. I like being with you. I would love to stay longer chatting on, but I don't want to try your patience. And I'm tired. And I'm hoping that you're starting to find me very boring, because there's a lot of more people out here on YouTube that have important things that you need to know and see and learn if you want to catch up to me in your understanding of the new reality. Good night, everyone. I love you. I love you. I don't even know you actually. So, like, how could I love you? But it feels good if I tell you that, doesn't it? I mean, I'm sure if I met you and you were cool, eventually I would love you.